Hi friends, thanks for joining me today. I hope you're all having a wonderful day and are ready to hear me ramble because that's pretty much what this video is. Basically, I want to film a lot more of these sort of talk story type videos where I cover topics that are on my mind, hopefully on other people's minds as well. If not, hopefully I bring it to light. I'll definitely focus a little bit more on talking videos from now on because I feel like they're the most useful thing and I like the idea of sparking conversation. So please feel free to comment your own opinions on this video and following talk story videos. So today's topic, as you can see in the video, is the topic of quitting and giving up and failure, sort of. Why there's such a stigma around quitting, why I think it's not really necessary or helpful, and how my mindset on this topic has really changed a lot. And I hope you folks can leave your own experiences or thoughts in the comments. We can all share and think about this interesting topic and the sort of balance between commitment and also acknowledging your feelings and when it might be okay to quit. I think it's a very interesting thing and I hope you find it interesting too. So let's get started with it. Let's talk about the current view surrounding quitting and leaving things. I think generally there's a pretty negative perception surrounding people who quit a job or even like student level quitting a club or a sport, especially in college area, which is I think what got me really thinking about this topic so much. Either dropping out or transferring schools, switching majors, all that sort of stuff. If you didn't know, I did both. I transferred schools and switched majors. I went from a university studying engineering to studying agriculture at a community college. I think that experience alone really got me questioning this idea of leaving one thing for the other. I've made a whole other video on that whole experience, but basically it was a really tough decision for me. It was one of those things I was thinking about doing for a while, but I think like so many other people, I was taught this idea and attitude of being gritty, you know, persevering through the hardships. And I think that's generally the attitude taught to most people, that you should, you know, push yourself and all that good stuff. It is really tough because I think you definitely should push yourself, but when is the point where if something's kind of hurting your mental health or just not really feeling right for you, when can you actually just shift away from that? You know, there's so many other things in life, and what if you just want to try something else out? I did end up making that decision to switch and everything, and after that is when I really adopted this whole mindset of being a lot more open to change, because like I said previously, I was someone very like gotta be committed to things, like that's such a good trait to have, and I think it definitely is. I'm not saying be like a super flaky person. Even surrounding relationships too, like quitting is a weird word to use, I guess, but you know, when people break up, like when is that point where you should kind of give up on trying to save the relationship? Dealing with friendships, even like if your friend or partner isn't treating you well and you're hoping they improve as a person, like when is that point where you just be like, you know, you're causing more of a struggle in my life than I need, so I need to let you go? But it's that same idea, like do you think to yourself, oh, maybe they'll change, or maybe I'll change, maybe I'll grow to love whatever I'm studying or grow to love this job, but in the moment you might not, and so how long do you wait it out? And I think usually we always acknowledge it from the side of grit, perseverance. And while those are very significant things you need in your life, because if not, we'd all be walking around like moving job to job every week, moving through relationships at the same pace probably. So yeah, what is that balance? I think it will vary a lot person to person. So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's just start with this. Change is inevitable. Let me repeat that again. Change is inevitable in a person, in your life. And I think we fail to acknowledge that sometimes. I think a lot of us know like we change from childhood to adulthood, but there's so much change within those periods too. Within just a couple of years or a couple of months, so much can change in your personality and your viewpoints. I'm talking about this because that's really what's going to determine if you even have the thought of quitting something, leaving something, and moving on to the next. One reason you might want to create a change in your life is maybe that your values are shifting a little bit. Maybe you go from valuing exploration and adventure to valuing stability a little bit more, and that could go for careers and lifestyles. Do you want something that's more of a 24/7 hustle, or do you want something a little bit more tame, you get more downtime? Or your interests might change. What you're studying in school, for example, it might be that you are just finally fully immersed in the area of study and you realize you don't like it very much. Along with that, you also might finally expose yourself to new areas of interest that you haven't really fully explored before, and suddenly you might be like, you know what, that sounds even better to me. Life happens, you don't know about everything all at once. That's why I'm really like, just go for it. Like, I wanted to study engineering initially, so I did that first. And I don't know which came first, that I was starting to lose interest in that, but I was also gaining interest in other things. I started thinking about health and agriculture, and that's what I'm studying more so now. Those are also things that always interested me, but I kind of pushed them down because I was stuck on this one straight path of engineering. Things might be lingering in the back of your mind, but just in the moment, we often will have to focus on one thing. It's really hard to tell until you are like 100% into it, so that's why I'm like, just start that job, just start that college major, just start that club or whatever, just start dating that person. Trying things and quitting things kind of go hand in hand. The more you try, the more you might quit. Another value that might change is like your attention to relationships. Back when I was a freshman in college, I was very much in my phase of like, I need independence. I just want some time to live on my own a little bit. I really want to experience a new environment, and those were all valid at the time. Maybe like half a year into that, I was already really missing home a lot. I realized that I really value my family time. I have my parents, my sister, my grandma, who I, want to take care of. Being away for an entire 4 years or so is kind of a long time. Like, it's relatively short, but really every day counts. Things like that I didn't really think about before because, like I said, I was a little bit more focused on myself, and that's very valid, but things shifted. Before, I really wanted that independence, and I did get a taste of that while being there. And then after that, I was like, you know what? I think I need to be back home. Also, just your circumstances in life may change. Money is a huge thing. Mental or physical health might change. And those are all obviously very huge factors that could influence your path in life. So interests, circumstances, your values, those are all major things that are gonna maybe shift your mind towards different options. It's just always a good idea to keep your mind open to things. You might kind of get too comfortable, and that's kind of good too. Some people really seek that stability and appreciate that, but I think a lot of us also have a sense of lingering longing for other things, and I'm someone who really values open-mindedness, and I think it's always a good idea to continue looking into interests, old and new. Random tangent, but when I was in community college, a lot of people were, a little bit older, they had kids of their own already, and that was just really inspiring for me. Lifelong learning is so important. Just seeing those people pursuing these passions that or maybe new or maybe old, but they just never got to go into that much was very, very, very cool. So I throw that in to remind you that growth happens at any age, and it's just different things throughout our life that may affect our journeys. And so finally, to sum things up, I just want to say there's no really quitting or giving up. It's all moving on. And that's something that my dad told me when I first was telling my parents about how I wanted to drop out of my university a couple of years ago and switch my major. I was really ashamed of the whole thing and had a really hard time telling them about it just because I thought they'd be disappointed. Not even just my parents, but just, with friends or whoever. It was really hard to say, like, yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. Because I felt like it made me a weak person. And I felt like, I wasn't strong enough to push through the struggle. And I think I was really forcing the idea from the start in that mindset of displaying my perseverance and grit and saying, oh, even though I'm not great, I'm gonna put in the work to make sure I can get better. And I definitely think I could have, and that's another thing too. I think anyone who puts in the work can do whatever they want. This isn't to say if you're not naturally good at something, don't pursue it. That's probably my main point of this, is to go and pursue it. Even if you are not 100% confident in it, go feel it out. You can't fully get the taste of what it's gonna be like until you feel it out. In order to find that balance of being committed but not going so much to the point you might miss other things you might want to try, is that whatever you are doing, put your all into it, devote that time, devote your energy into it to make sure you're getting the full experience. Don't slack so that you're gonna say, oh yeah, I wasn't good at that. You wouldn't know unless you put your all and full effort into it. I think the real thing is that you need to acknowledge your emotions and desires. So if a thought is lingering in your mind, like I might want to switch majors, might want to switch schools, might want to quit this job, might want to break up with this person. If those thoughts linger for months, I think it's time to start acknowledging that, especially if you are looking into other options. So give it time for sure. Like, don't rush any decisions. Like I said, let them kind of settle in for at least a few months. And another thing too, not only give it time, but make sure to communicate and process those thoughts, either if it's with yourself or with others. So like in a relationship, don't just kind of wait it out and hope the person changes. Communicate what you are hoping to see in that person, and hopefully they will try to improve. If it's with yourself, don't push the emotion away. Just kind of see where it goes when you are keeping your mind open to new things, because sorry to keep returning to this college example of myself. I'd say for a couple of months in my second semester, I was already getting those second thoughts. I was already thinking about different majors or projects I'd like to pursue, about being back home for a solid like 2 or 3 or even maybe 4 months before I made the actual decision. I was really just pushing it out. I was saying, no, that'd be cool, but right now you're doing this. And like I said again, I probably could have done it. I think anyone can do whatever they put their time and energy into, and it just really came down to that I just genuinely didn't want to continue it. It felt a lot more like a chore than like an actual thing I wanted to continue and was excited about, and that really shouldn't be your mindset throughout life. And so moral of the story, I guess, listen to your feelings, make sure to put your all into whatever you are doing at the moment, learn what you can from it, apply it to your next journeys. But again, quitting, giving up, it's really moving on. You're always going to find a next chapter in your life, and I think that's just a really great reminder, because sometimes when you leave something, you feel, like I said, like very weak, like you didn't stick it out. Like you see other people doing the same thing and you feel like, dang, I couldn't do it like them. And again, change is inevitable, so recognize those changes as growth. We're constantly growing into more layered people, and in my eyes, the more experiences, the better. Every club, every class, every job, they all really teach you different skill sets and different values. All those things make you a more open-minded person, and that willingness to try new things is a super important personality trait in my eyes, and that's kind of my top thing that I try to exude in life. Failure sometimes is going to happen with that, and each failure is just one new step in the journey. So always moving forward, never moving backwards, and remember that. Please leave in the comments what you think about this topic, if there were any times in your life where you wanted to quit or you did quit something, how that went, what kind of played a role into how you made that decision, and just kind of your mindset around quitting. Like, when do you think is a good time to quit something? I hope this video was comforting and useful to whoever needed to hear it. Please like and subscribe if you thought this message and type of video was useful. Please leave a comment if you have other topic suggestions for these sit down talk story videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!